Now the Cleveland Police Union is going after the companies that make toy guns. Henry Hilow is an attorney for the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association. He's also representing those two officers, and he joins me now from Cleveland. Mr. Hilow, why don't you highlight to us what you're looking for out of this lawsuit and what you have seen over the last few years as far as the proliferation of these toy guns?
A person need only look at your news station, the number of times that there's a report and the follow-up to the report is that the individual had a toy gun. I think one of the problems we have is we refer to them as toy guns. They should be referred to as replica. And by their very nature, they cause death and tragedy to individual families, and they do the same for law enforcement or to other people that possess a weapon lawfully, because when they see this gun, this replica gun pointed at them, they don't have the ability to discern whether or not it's an actual firearm or a replica firearm. And I believe go ahead, please.
You made a point about the replica, but this gun that Tamir Rice reportedly had was an airsoft rifle, not a toy. So I'm not clear if that would have helped in his case.
It would definitely help. First of all, it wasn't described as a rifle. That's a misstatement. It was it had the same design and look and dimensions of a revolver. And it wasn't until after the situation, the shooting had taken place, when the officers on the scene looked at it up close, that they could tell it was not a real firearm. So it would make a difference. You know, there's no warnings when anybody purchases these, quote, toy guns of the risk and harm that they cause. No one's afforded the opportunity of hindsight when a weapon of this nature is produced. And it causes tragedy to various families throughout our communities. I mean, the Washington Post just published the tragedies that are connected with the use of these replica toy guns. Other states have recognized it, and I think it's risen to epidemic proportions right now. And it's something that has to be addressed.
Have you heard from other police unions on the matter?
We've heard from other unions within our state and other states, and we're trying to coordinate. We've actually heard from other victims of this type of tragedy that they've incurred as a result of these replica weapons being used.
Mr. Hilow, you know, some are going to argue that this looks like an attempt to deflect blame from the officers that you're representing. How do you respond to that?
Well, one word and one word only: ridiculous. Since I've been involved in this case in the beginning, rhetoric, no matter what side it's coming from, will never solve a problem. The only way you solve a problem is you sit around and you try to discuss with all parties, victims, law enforcement people, how do we correct it? What's the source? When a shooting takes place or an incident takes place, when that gun's used in a robbery or something else, that's too late. That's when the problem's already manifested itself. We've got to get to the root, educate people, educate. Why do young kids in the community, if they can't afford a weapon, get a replica gun to show that they're the equal to the person who's a gang member? Why do people, if they're in a dangerous neighborhood, or anybody in a community, get a replica gun because it gives them some type of security? And there's an old expression: you don't bring a replica gun to a gunfight. And that's what's happening right now. I mean, we got to take a step back. You know, I'm 60 years old. I've been in this business for 37 years. I'm a former prosecutor. And it would be totally irresponsible to keep going back and saying this is nothing but rhetoric or a position. As a community, as a society, we have to step forward and solve these problems. And for those that think that this is to some way take away, in our case, the city of Cleveland settled with the family. The county prosecutor's office made the findings in this case. That case is over. We either let the lessons from not only that case but other cases throughout the nation, we either ignore them and pay the price in the future, or we seek a solution. And that's what we're trying to do here. I will challenge you
on that, Mr. Hilow. The case may be over, but the pain continues for a lot of people over the death of a 12-year-old boy. About that, there's a lot of healing that needs to go in that community, and I would hope that you're part of that conversation, Mr. Hilow, as well, in terms of what is causing. Good, and I'm really glad to hear that.
That's why we're doing this and other efforts within the community. And there is pain. There's pain in every death that takes place. But if we don't ignore the cries of that pain to solve something, then we're not doing the right thing. We have a responsibility as citizens in this community to come together and not be divided. We have to come together to heal, and we have to come together to solve problems. And that's what we have a duty. All of us have a duty. I respect your role in this, in educating the community. And as a community, we have to step up and do the right thing.
Henry Hilow is an attorney for the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association. I appreciate you for joining me and having this conversation.
You have a nice day.
You as well.